Hello, and welcome to the Thyroid Warrior Podcast. I'm Ebony, and I'm here as your wellness facilitator. I'm going to be sharing my experiences in managing Hashimoto's disease. I really hope that it'll help you on your personal journey. Keep in mind, however, this does not substitute for medical advice. It is only for your information and motivational purposes only. Now, let's get started. Hello, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed last week's episode with Virginia Ladd, the president of the American Autoimmune Related Diseases Association. That was so wonderful and a great way to end Autoimmune Disease Awareness Month. Now, this month, it is about to be good. That's all I can say. But I have been traveling for about the last week or so, and I have learned some very hard lessons, and I want to share them with you. I have 4 lessons that I'm going to be sharing with you over the month of April, and I want you to get really excited because April is also a really fun month from a launch perspective. So if you have been following me on social media, you know that I've been asking you guys what you want to see in my new and revamped thyroid guide. So that guide is going to be in a 3-part series, and it's going to be walking you through my story with Hashimoto's disease. And I'm going to give you actionable tips and strategies to help you work through your autoimmune condition, because I realize that even though there is information out there, the how has been missing. And I have put all of the information that I've learned over the last decade or so in a 3-part series to help you really work through things so that you too can start to feel better and happy and more joyful. Now, here comes the meat and potatoes. Are you ready? This week's episode is about entitlement. Now, if you are not ready for some tough love in all of the right ways, go ahead and just fast forward or just wait until next month, because we have to have these hard conversations with each other. And I feel like if I didn't share with you the lessons that I've learned, I'd be selfish. So when you think about entitlement, you think about the kids whining and like just stomping around and saying, I want this, and why aren't you doing this for me, and blah, 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 blah. We all have that image in our heads about what entitlement means, and it can be taken in a good way and a bad way. And most of us think about it in that bad context. I'm going to talk to you about both sides of it, actually. So where did this come from? What you might be wondering, why are we about to talk about this? Well, glad you asked. I got a gut check over the last couple of weeks, and it made me really think about how I have approached getting better and healing and approaching a lot of things that are currently happening in my life. More to come on that probably next month. But here's what I remember going through in my head, and that is, well, I'm sick, so you should get it. Or why don't people understand that I don't feel good and I can't just up and go out and do all the things? Or I'm sick, so you should accommodate me. Or I'm sick, so you should make me feel more comfortable. And friends, that thought process is just wrong. We are the only ones that can influence others in terms of how they treat us. So we have to be responsible for showing others how to treat us. So what does that mean? What I want you to think about is I want you to start practicing kindness, love, and compassion towards yourself. Give yourself grace. If you're afraid of something, or you know that it's time for you to really buckle down and do the work to feel better, like eating better, drinking more water, getting more sleep, being more proactive about searching for a new doctor, all of those things that are scary and you're like, I don't know about this. Lean into it. Do it anyway. And more, I'm realizing how important it is to smile and to laugh and to allow your body to feel happiness and joy. We don't do that enough, not even a little bit. And I used to walk around just being serious because I felt like I have an autoimmune condition. I'm sick. So therefore, I need to be serious and I need to show people that I'm serious about this and I need to work hard and I need to do all these things because I have to prove to people that I'm going to beat this and I'm going to do all the things. And I got tired real fast. It was a lot. It was a lot to keep up with. And I realized over time that the more joyful I became and the more I allowed myself to smile and experience happiness, the better I started to feel. And I have to say this in advance. Thank you for sticking with me throughout this time of my life, because what you may have noticed initially in my earlier podcast episodes is that I laughed a lot. And you may have been wondering, what the heck is so funny? Like, is this an inside joke or something? And honestly, no, it wasn't. But I realized that for some of you, you too are taking yourselves way too seriously. And if I could smile, if I could show you that it's possible to laugh and be joyful, that perhaps you might think, okay, this chick is crazy, but she might be onto something. Some of you may not have gotten that at all. Some of you may be like, oh, this girl is really silly and weird, and I love it. Hopefully the latter is more of what you thought, and that is why you're still here. Which, again, either way, I'm thankful for you and I'm grateful for you. And that kind of leads into the other thing that I really wanted to convey, and that's practicing gratitude. Because today, you're in a better position than what you were in yesterday. Today, you may think, all right, well, I've lost weight. I am starting to sleep more. And guess what? That wasn't the case maybe 6 months ago or maybe a year ago. So that's something to be grateful for and to celebrate. Learn how to be grateful and celebrate the small victories that you have in your life because they are awesome. Because I think back when I was really sick, I could barely get out of bed. I could barely walk up a flight of stairs without feeling like my chest was going to explode. I could barely walk and not lose my breath. I could barely comb my hair, fold my clothes, do laundry, or even just interact with people without feeling incredibly depressed. So yeah, I'm going to laugh and I'm going to be happy because I don't want to go back to where I was because it was a dark place. So I challenge you to start to think about those things because I want you to start examining where in your life can you start to practice that love, kindness, and compassion for yourself? Where in your life can you give yourself grace? I know that many of you are moms. I know that many of you experience that mom guilt. Or if, you're in your late teens or early 20s, or I don't really care what age you are, there is something that you have to work on. And there is something that you are so hard on yourself, and I know that you know what that is, that you could just say, you know what? I'm going to relax. And I'm just going to love on myself because dang it, I'm beautiful and I'm freaking amazing and I'm awesome. I want you to say that to yourself. If you're in the car at a stoplight or at a stop sign, just pause, look in your rearview mirror and say, you are amazing. And start getting in the habit of practicing that. And when it comes to your family or your loved ones or your friends, you have to kind of help them understand what's going on with you. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. But there are ways that I've learned to explain it to my friends and family. And for some of them, they actually may end up being diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, and it might take years for them to get it. I remember my friend recently got diagnosed with celiac disease, and she was like, oh, I get why one minute you were fine and the next minute you were like, Or I explained it to my mom after a while. I said, there are some things that I just can't do. There are some times when I just don't feel well. And I had to explain to her, even back when I was younger, I said, you know that I'm a very even person. And the fact that my hormones were all over the place and I didn't know it, that is why I was acting the way that I was acting. And I'm really sorry if I said or did things that upset you or hurt your feelings. But can we move forward starting today to improve our relationship? You are your own worst enemy. And if you're not loving on yourself, how can you expect someone else to love you? Or if you're not treating yourself well, how do you expect other people to show up for you? Your doctors, they're human. Give them grace. However, if you feel like they're not listening to you or they're not helping you, you are entitled, here's where we flip it around, you're entitled to choose. You have the ability to choose. You have the ability to choose who gets to take care of you. And when you think about it like that, it's incredibly freeing and empowering. Now, some of us may have limitations due to finances, or if you're on an HMO and you can't necessarily choose who you can see, you have the ability to go to your internist and say, hey, I didn't like that person. Can you recommend someone else that I can see? Or if your internist recommended that particular doctor, you can say, hey, we weren't really compatible. Do you have other suggestions as to who I can see? Or you can do a quick search on the internet and say, all right, these are the top 5 doctors that I've seen. Their reviews are good. Naturally, you have to take reviews with a grain of salt sometimes, but take a look, call your insurance and say, hey, does my insurance cover this particular doctor? And maybe the next time you go to your internist, you can say, hey, these are the doctors that I looked up that I would like to see again. Can you give me a referral to see that person? Or if you're on a PPO, meaning you have the ability to choose what specialist you see and you don't have to go through that internist or primary care physician, just try it out. Be mindful of whatever limitations there are from an insurance perspective, or you can always pay out of pocket. I know. What? Yeah. And sometimes just having that extra skin in the game by having to put your own funds down, which I know many of us have already paid a lot of money for our care. And you may be thinking, why on earth would I continue to pay for these things? Again, hear me out. You have the ability to choose who gets to take care of you, always. So don't ever feel like you're limited by that doctor, or you're limited by that functional medicine person, or you're limited by that chiropractor. Always realize that you can choose. But here's the thing, and here's the lesson that I want you to take from today's episode. And that is, you are exactly where you need to be. And you have 2 decision points. You can choose to fight and be joyful, or you can choose to stay right where you are, to be sad, and to not give yourself the chance to heal. But guess what? I also want you to recognize that you deserve to live your life happy and well. So I want you to understand that you are entitled to living a happy life, but you have to take some steps to really identify the how. So my challenge to you today is I want you to sit down and I want you to think about where are the areas where you felt entitled to something, and I want you to write them down. Once you've written those things down, I want you to think about it. Think about, is this a positive way of thinking or a negative way of thinking? And as you start going through this exercise, you're going to realize, ooh, maybe I could have been a little bit nicer to X person or Y person, or more importantly, I could have been a lot nicer to myself. So I challenge you, do that exercise. Write down all of the ways where you thought that other people should be more considerate of you. And then, more importantly, write down the ways that you can be more considerate of yourself. Meaning, I could have gone to bed earlier. I could have told myself that I'm freaking amazing. I could have, instead of getting upset with my family because they didn't understand how I felt, I could have given them grace and said, you know what? This is a teaching moment. Let me teach you how to treat me. So with that, friends, I hope that you have an amazing day, and don't forget, I hope you have an amazing day. And when you get a chance, I am going to be having so many things going on in April, but the more important thing is I'm going to be doing a 7-day challenge on how to fight fatigue. So after you've done your exercise, go ahead and go to ebonycolina.com/fight fatigue and sign up for my webinar series so that we can go through this together. And with that, take care. Okay, thyroid warriors. Get out there and take things one step at a time. Remember, be great, reflect on your triumphs, and as always, be well. Take care.